Hey there, hope you're doing well. In this video, this is video number 3 in this series, the AWS AI series, if you will. We're going to sort of take a look at Anthropic. At least spend a few minutes, just looking into it, just try to understand what it is. But if you haven't watched the previous video, I highly recommend that you watch this series in sequence, but I know it's not always possible. But to the extent that you can, I would recommend that you do so because there's always context to these conversations, and it does help, the learning experience if you know the context a bit more. But that being said, it's all right if you did not watch the other ones before you watch this one. But just by way of quick introduction to those videos, the parts 1 and 2, we just looked at all of the AWS AI products really quickly at a 50,000 foot level. Skimmed through them, spent a few minutes on each of them, discovered it for the first time on video while I was recording it. So it's just a collective learning experience, if you will, or an educational experience, right? Just trying to acclimatize with those products, and I think we sort of did that. In this one, I want to, like I mentioned earlier in the previous video, I want to take each of these and dig deeper. And there's going to be some sort of a method to the madness. I hope there is. Uh, but there's not going to be too much structure. It's not going to be too rigid because as we discover and learn, we're always going to stumble into something that's a bit more exciting, at least at that point of time. Or perhaps it's important to know that to understand this better. So we might be switching gears constantly. So just to set the expectations right there. Um, Without further ado, let's just jump right in. Let me do a screen share. Actually, I'm going to share my entire desktop. Oh, okay. So hopefully you can see my screen. Um, let's look at this, right? So if you go to, again, Amazon, let's see, AWS products. If you go to this list here, we were looking and we are going to be looking at the AI products in this AI series, obviously. So I mentioned that Bedrock was something that was interesting, and some of these products, like we sort of saw in the previous videos, some of them are broad, quote unquote, platforms, if you will. Others are like kind of like applications where you use them, leverage those when you need to solve a very specific problem. Bedrock, to me, the way I see it is it's one of those foundational AWS AI products along the lines of perhaps SageMaker and some others. At least that's how I look at it, just given how broad I believe it is going to be as a product. So let's look at what Bedrock is. So again, this series for the nth time, sorry if I sound like a broken record, we are learning together. I don't know any more about this than you do, and it's likely that if you've used them, either you've prototyped using them or using them in production, then you surely know a lot more. But hopefully you have a few more things to learn and you can accompany me in this journey. But if you haven't done any real work per se using these tools, and you're looking to do them this year in 2025, then we should be at sort of the same starting point, because we have a bunch of needs that we items we want to do this year that's on our roadmap, or things that will make into the roadmap and in place of other things that we had originally expected to do. And I can see a lot of these products helping us quite nicely. But before we can put them into use, we need to understand them. Start. First we have to sort of crawl, then walk, then run, and then fly. Okay. We are like what, 4 minutes in. It's time to get started with the actual topic, Bedrock. Let's see what it is. And as I've done in these videos, I'm just going to read a few lines, literally verbatim from what I see, and then we'll talk more about it. Amazon Bedrock supports over 100 foundation. Well, is there some other introduction to it? Or this is the introduction. Yeah. It supports over 100 foundation models from industry leading providers and emerging leaders. Select a serverless model or Bedrock marketplace model that is best suited for achieving your unique goals. And now, let's say if I go to model catalog, this is where I want to come to in a second, but let me look at what the other one was. Discover market. Oh, Wait, hang on. So it brought us to the same page. It filters by model collection, which is Bedrock Marketplace. And if I did this, there is no. Okay, this is the filter, right? Now, so let's understand the categorization here. There are two types of model collections: serverless and Bedrock Marketplace. So 49 plus 122, so 171. Does this add up to 171? It probably does. Um, let's see, 2, 5, 11, 12, 13, 20, 22, 24, 28, 38, 39, 42, 43, 44, 47, 53, 140, 141, 142, 149, 155, 164, 175. 71. I mean, there is, I would have expected that to total exactly the same. I just want to see if it's the same set of models that are just filtered differently, which means the numbers would have to add up. And I don't believe they did. I don't know. Okay. So these are the providers. Like Amazon has 11 of them. Anthropic is a company that is separate from Amazon, but I believe Amazon has a sizable investment in the company. You may have, at least I've heard of Cohere, IBM, Luma, Meta, Nvidia, and that's it. Those are some of those names that, at least from a provider standpoint, that rings a bell. You might be familiar with more or fewer. In terms of the model collection, it says discover these models that best fit your use case. To get started using a serverless model, request access. For marketplace models, subscribe and deploy. So if you want to use a serverless model, you need to request access, but for the other category, you do not. So we first have to understand what the difference here is. The serverless, it's self-descriptive, but the Bedrock Marketplace, I want to know what that is. Who are the providers? Like, for instance, who is the provider for this one? I don't know what, sold by Writer. So that's the company, and that should be in this list at the bottom. The second filter here should most likely have Writer. Okay, there's two of them. And if you go to the marketplace, you see that. So this says Writer, Palmra, Med 7, TB, 32K, text generation text, NLP, summarization text. What are some of the other ones? Translation, text generation again, bunch of text generation, text to image. This is an NVIDIA model. So there's a bunch of these models here, the Bedrock Marketplace. And then let's say if you go to the serverless models, you have Anthropic, the cloud. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Cloud. Haiku. Sonnet. It says agents, chat, optimize, code generation, RAG, retrieval augmented generation. To sort of deal with data that it's private, not models built on public data. Text generation, summarization. There's a bunch of Anthropic models, and then there are Amazon models. So the first question I have is the difference between serverless and Bedrock Marketplace. Okay, Bedrock Marketplace versus serverless models. Bedrock Marketplace refers to a collection of diverse foundation models from various providers that users can access through a single interface, while serverless models are the native, fully managed models offered directly by Amazon Bedrock, which are deployed on a serverless infrastructure. Let me read that again. The Bedrock Marketplace is a collection of diverse models from various providers that users can access through a single interface, while the serverless models are fully managed models that are deployable on a serverless infrastructure. Um, mm, think I understand that, but sometimes, it's one thing to understand the theory at a high level, but it's entirely another to understand it when you start playing with it. So let's take that for what it is. Let's see what else does it say. Bedrock Marketplace models come from different companies. I mean, so do the serverless models. Like we saw, it's coming from Anthropic and a bunch of other companies. And are listed on the marketplace, while serverless models are developed and managed directly by Amazon. Okay, so if I go to serverless, it's Amazon, it's Anthropic. What is this? Cohere, the last time I checked, that is a different company from Amazon. Cohere AI. Yeah, this is a different product which we can look at as well. It's very interesting. I think I spent a little bit of time, maybe in one of the podcasts doing it. I'm not sure if I recorded that or not. Cohere, it says it's all-in-one platform for private and secure AI, and they have a playground. Uh, this is where I said sometimes, there is that element of distraction. It is what it is. So let's just go. Um, yeah, I do remember checking this out a while ago. Yeah, this is a different product, a different company, I should say. What is Command R Plus? Cohere's Command R Plus model is the newest large language model optimized for conversational interaction, blah, blah, blah. So again, another company, uh, just like, Anthropic, Cohere is another company. They're, I think, fairly big in this space. Something we can look at as well, perhaps in a different video at a different time, right? So this text here, I'm not sure it's accurate. It's not, serverless does not necessarily appear to me as though it was developed directly by Amazon, because Cohere probably is a different company. Anyway, so and I have this account that you're seeing on here is something we can use to play with. It's not surely not a production account for Snowpal, so we can create some services, shut them down as during this journey, right? As we progress through these videos. Okay, so I'm still a little bit unclear as to what the separation is between the serverless and the border and the Bedrock marketplace. Maybe the serverless models are probably more seamlessly integrated to be sort of deployed in on AWS. Maybe the other category requires a bit more work. I don't know, but I think the important takeaway here should be, at least to me, is the fact that there are lots of models here, right? There's hundreds of them, 171. Well, unless I miscounted this list, I don't know. Did not add up to that, but maybe I miscounted. So the first question is, how do you pick the right model, the foundation model? And before we did that, let's even do a basics. What is a foundation model? Again, there's no assumption as to what the starting point is for folks watching this. It's me simply learning with you. At the end of it, we're going to create something, either collaboratively or independently, that leverages these tools, and then we feel like we have some idea as to what they are, and put them to real use and build something that can be deployed to production. I mean, reading theory is a whole lot easier, right? At least relatively speaking. And then when you want to prototype it, you need to understand it quite a bit. But the point, there's the gap between theory and prototyping is no smaller than the gap between prototyping and taking something to production, because that needs to solve real problems right out there. So I mean, we'll get there, but let's say, what is foundation model in AI? A foundation model in a large AI mod is a large AI model that's trained on a large amount of data and can be used for many tasks. Now, how do they work? You might have heard of training and inference. Let's also do AI models, training versus inference. So, training refers to the initial process where a model, I'm reading this here basically verbatim, where a model learns patterns from a large data set. So, you have a data set. Now, again, we looked at some of the AWS products yesterday, last video, sorry, where you can actually there was a product that you can use to improve the quality of your data set. I forget what that is, but let's see, it's okay, you can look at the previous video. And there's one where they could have it supported a human intervention for you to improve those models if those predictions were not particularly accurate. So that's from training a data set. So the training that's creating a data set, or yeah, I think they're creating a data set. Here it talks to training, which basically is where a model learns the patterns from that data set that you created, And the larger the merrier, right? While inference is the phase where the trained model, a model that has already been trained on a data set, applies those patterns, as it says here, to make predictions and classifications. So two steps, right, at the highest level. One is you first need a data set that's broad and and is rich in quality. So you need to start there with a data set, and then you train your model, right, leveraging that data set. Now, once you do that, and then you have the next phase, which is the inference, which is where you use those trained models uh, to make those predictions, which is literally where the outcome is, right? That's what the end result is. So that's something to remember: training versus inference. If you didn't know that already. So a foundation model is a large model that's trained on a large amount of data and can be used for many tasks. So that's essentially what a foundation model is. Now, depending on the data that it is trained on, and and the algorithm that I presume is behind the model, it is going to separate itself from another model. That's why we see a bunch of models available at the Bedrock level and at the Amazon, what was it? So it's the serverless category as well. So let's quickly read through this. So again, we know Chat. I mean, who doesn't, right? Chat GPT, a foundational model from OpenAI that powers Chat GPT is, I believe, the model is called GPT. Uh, Cloud is a foundation model for natural language processing. And if you don't know what NLP is, what is natural language processing? It's a field of computer science that allows computers to understand and process human language, both written and spoken. So you will see a lot of reference to natural language processing in the context of AI and our conversations in general. So let's maybe look at this diagram really quick. NLP, it says essentially enabling machines to read and interpret text in a way similar to humans. So that's at the highest level what natural language processing is. So what this says is, what can models do? Foundation models can identify and analyze objects and images, like for facial recognition and things of that nature. They can understand and process human language for NLP. They can answer questions based on prompts, chat GPT like. They can create art or marketing copy based on a prompt, right? Generative tasks. Now, let's step back, right? The foundation model is one term, but let me just do a foundation model versus. Now, we haven't gotten to Anthropic yet, but I think I want to see. Is it the pre-trained model? I'm not. Let me see. I'm looking for. So a foundation model is a large general purpose AI model trained on massive amounts of data. We've seen that already. It can perform a wide range of tasks. While a pre-trained model is a model trained on a large data set for a specific purpose, like image recognition or NLP. So I think I was looking for a different term, but it's all right. At least foundation model is a model trained on massive amounts of data, the least minimum that we need to understand. Now, how do you pick a model before you start putting this to use? You have to go look through the use cases because you have a problem in mind. You're trying to solve a problem. You've come here, like you've decided to use Bedrock, and you're trying to figure out, okay, which model do I need to use? Now, before we go further, let's do Amazon Bedrock versus an Azure. I don't know, what is it, Azure? Let's see. I'm just trying to see. Uh, let's say Azure OpenAI. As I mentioned previously, we pretty much use AWS for the most part, but sometimes it's worth looking at the other two hyperscalers as well, like Amazon and Google, just to draw a parallel. So build custom AI solutions with Azure OpenAI. I want to see what the equivalent product was from Azure that compared to Bedrock. Um, how do I find this? Azure competition to AWS Bedrock. It says Azure OpenAI, so we were in the right place. Azure OpenAI models. service models. So I'm just looking for the model catalog. It's powered by a diverse set of models, and then these are. I mean, is this it? That AWS seems to have a much longer list. So maybe these are all open AI models. Maybe Azure does not. I'm thinking aloud here. Is it possible that it doesn't support models from other companies? Like, what if I want to use a Cohere or an Anthropic model on Azure OpenAI? Azure OpenAI Cohere model. In an effort to make our language capabilities more widely available, we have partnered with a few major platforms. You learn how to use Azure to deploy both the Cohere command models. The following 6 models are available through Azure Studio. Okay, you need an Azure subscription and a project, and maybe we can try this as well at some point. So you are able to use Cohere, the Cohere models on Azure, but the documentation actually brings us to Cohere and not so much to Azure OpenAI. Maybe let's see. So clearly, it does appear to. Oh wait, hang on. Here is a better list here. So what was it? As oh my god, I just saw explore and select AI. Oh, the model catalog. Um, the model catalog organizes models in different collections curated by Azure AI. Oh, models from partners such as Meta, NVIDIA, and Mistral AI. Examples of models available in this collection. Azure OpenAI models through an integration with the OpenAI service. Where does Cohere available models for supported deployment options? Cohere models. They are here. I guess this is Azure documentation. I mean, again, the thing is when you get used to a particular vendor, you also sort of know a little bit better how to maneuver through the documentation of that platform of that vendor. We use Azure services at Snowpal, but uh, very few, right? For OAuth 2 for login and things of the nature. Majority of our services we are on AWS. So I'm certainly, as you can tell, more comfortable on AWS, which is why our AI dependencies are going to be certainly on AWS as well. But I'm showing this just to compare, draw a parallel to understand. And it clearly, the earlier documentation was misleading where it sounded like there was only a few models, but this page seems to show a lot more and says they have support for integration with other models. So this is Azure's documentation. It does look pretty, but I think I don't know. It's just my comfort level. I'm feel like I'm having to look at it slightly differently than here. Here it is much cleaner. I was able to see the catalog and start with the model. Perhaps with Azure, you have to do it a little bit differently. But for what it's worth, we see that these models are available on multiple providers. But there's going to be differences between, I don't know if all of the Anthropic models are available on. Let's even look at that, right? I want to even see if there are Azure Anthropic model. Okay, Cloud is a large language model built by Anthropic. It's trained to be helpful. As this connector is available in the following products. So it says connectors and connector reference. So I guess they support connectors so you can work with these other. It says independent publisher. Oh, there's a long list here. Okay, and maybe they have Cohere in this list too. Maybe not. I thought I got rid of Anthropic. Why does it still? Okay, let me refresh the page. I'm going to search for Cohere. Yep, so it's here. Let's look at a few other things like, I don't know, hugging face. I have no idea what hugging face is. Yep, they do have it, right? So clearly, these models are supported on Azure. I'm pretty sure Google Cloud supports them as well. So, but something to just know, right? So you have a list of these models, and each one is trained on a certain data set, and it brings that particular value to the table. Now you have to figure out which one you want to use. You may either filter by provider and just see what Amazon has to offer and go with those, but I doubt that you're going to go down that route. You're going to go with the use case and then figure out what serves your purpose. So I guess the first is the collection category, and then the providers, and then the modality, which is audio, image, text, video. Let's say we go with text. Majority of the models are text based. So if you're doing text generation, let's say if I do text generation, oops, text generation. Oh, I guess and I want to filter by. How can I add another filter here? Okay. Model name, provider, collection, modality, and marketplace deployments. Yeah, that's. No, I would have liked to be able to search by the text in here. Is that not possible? That's interesting. Okay. Um, so if I go with text, you see text generation, and I'm pretty sure a number of them do the same type of thing. So how do you figure out which one you want to go by? I go with, sorry, Titan Text G1, or what is the first one? Or are you going to go with Cloud? Uh, Hopefully I learn how to pronounce this. It's not Cloud, maybe it's Claude. I'm just going to go with one and say it right or wrong all the way through. I'm going to say Anthropic. Maybe there's a way to learn these. How do you? I can do meaning. It's a proper noun. Um, oh, it's a Latin word. How to pronounce Claude? Not cloud, but Claude, as like a claw. I'm just going to say Claude. Okay. Huh, pronunciation makes in English is a beautiful language, but it's not easy. Certainly not. Not that any other language is easy either, for that matter. Anyway, so if you're going to go with text generation, how do you figure which one you want to go with? This is where I think it gets very tricky, at least to me. And if you know of better ways to do it, just let me know. You want to go to these playgrounds, and we're going to check those out. Surely you want to figure out, you want to pick a model, and we'll go there slowly but surely. But so you start with Bedrock, and you have to figure where the model is. So I found an article that says, uh, you know, that's titled, I'll try to add it here, clarifai.com, AI foundation models. And let's see, are we still recording? Yes, we are. Choosing the best model for your use case. You can read this article, but the thing is, let me read this. With the vast array of foundation models available, selecting the ideal one to fit your requirements can be an intricate endeavor. I think it's one of the most complicated things, at least from at the beginning, because if you pick the wrong one and you made progress, you're going to lose time if you have to roll back and sort of go back to square one and start again. So let me read some of these lines here that are in bold. Think of foundation models as the multi-talented athletes of the AI world. They can adapt to a variety of tasks without needing a lot of special training. But you need to pick the right one. So this article talks about whether it's pre-trained and whatnot. What is it? And they have some examples, I believe, and give you some guidance as to how you're going to go about doing it. But again, there is a lot of theory here, right? A lot of theory. Let's actually do a quick Google search. How to find the most appropriate foundation model. Consider factors like the task you needed for the model size and architecture. I think that's important. The size, the quality of its data, train domain specificity, how close it is if it's a vertical, right? If you're building something for the pharmaceutical industry versus the finance industry, computation resource requirements, sure, right? How much is it going to cost? What does it run on? If it's running on NVIDIA chips, GPUs, it's going to cost, certain models probably just work on them. Like, let's actually try that, right? Let's go back to our model here. Let's go to the model catalog. Was NVIDIA in the list of providers? There's only one. NVIDIA Nemotron microservice, text generation, generative AI generation. How can there be just a singular NVIDIA model? Delivery method through Bedrock and SageMaker is a 15 billion parameter large multi-language model trained on 8 trillion text tokens to demonstrate strong performance. Yada, yada, yada. Let's see. NVIDIA Foundation models. Um, robots and autonomous vehicles with NVIDIA Cosmos, create AI agents, most popular models. So that's a lot of models, right? See, let's read some of them. Make it bigger. Chinese and English LLM targeting for language coding and mathematics, molecular generation, vision language. There's a model for code generation. This one here. Um, what else is there? Chart extraction. So there clearly are a number of models. Oh, hang on. These are not all NVIDIA models. These are models available on these NVIDIA chips. So I guess there'll be, let's see, is there Amazon here? I don't see Amazon. We see Google. Do we see Meta? So the Meta models are available here. Now again, we saw Bedrock models and we saw Azure's models, and there is a different list of models altogether. So again, the early stages is going to be primarily exploration, right? To figure out, because I think a year ago, coding was important. It's still an important skill. Don't get me wrong. I shouldn't be saying this as a developer, but it's a whole lot less important than a lot of the other skills we need today. For instance, just figuring out, if someone asks me the answer to, here's my problem, Krish, what is the best model? I don't have an answer right now. I don't want to be in the situation like 3 months or 6 months down the road. Hopefully not. Which is why we are going through this exercise, and maybe you find yourself in that position as well. Because if not, we might end up solving problems the way we did them in the past, and that's going to be flat out wrong. So the first thing is, when you looked at just foundation model, which is on ground zero, right? Just getting started, there are so many decisions and questions at this point. But let me look at the NVIDIA model here. What is this called? This is called Nemotron 415B. I'm not even seeing. Oh, wait, hang on. Not Meta. Okay, it's Nemotron. Oh, there's one that says bilingual Hindi English SLM, small language model for on device inference. 70B 51. Oh, mini 4B instruct. Oh no, that's different. Wait, let's copy the whole thing here. So I see 4340B instruct. This is 415B. So I don't know if it's a model that's available specifically on AWS and just that. I want to say Azure. Now includes, oh wow, it says Amazon Bedrock Marketplace now includes NVIDIA models, or maybe December, and that's like a month ago. So maybe they didn't have this up until that point. We got excited to introduce the Bedrock Marketplace. Oh, the whole, wow, it says that AWS reInvent 2024, we excited to introduce the Bedrock Marketplace. This is a revolutionary new capability within Bedrock that serves as a centralized hub for discovering, testing, and implementing foundation models. So they didn't have the marketplace like until a month ago, is what it looks like to me. And it says introducing NVIDIA for NIM microservices. So maybe there's just that particular model at the forefront of the model families in Nemotron 4, powerful large language model trained on an impressive 8 trillion text tokens. Key capabilities include synthetic data generation, create high quality domain specific training data at scale, multilingual support, blah, 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 data augmentation, cost efficiency. So these are the use cases. Now, the part where it gets tricky is when you take a problem, somebody's like, hey, here, I mean, there are things that we want to be able to do this year at Snowpal. Now, we have to be able to take that problem, the use case, and map it to these models. And there is going to be, I don't know, we're going to get lucky enough to map it to the best model, and whatever that best means in the context of what we are seeing here, as to what a model should bring to the table for each of us. Because the cost is certainly going to be a factor. Learning curve, like it or not, is a factor. And then domain specificity and some of these other things, the quality of the data. Right. So you're going to have to figure out how to arrive at the right model. That's step one. So let's see, to find, it says you can, I wonder if there's a tool out there that recommends foundation models on one or more of these platforms based on the problem that you're trying to solve. That's one option. But short of that, I think we may have to go the long-winded way, right? Let's say you go with providers that you're familiar with. Like Anthropic is something that caught my interest a couple of months ago, maybe longer, maybe a little bit longer than that. Uh, a little bit before that. But so when I look at it, I'd be like, you know what? I have seen Cohere, sort of checked it out. Anthropic, I'm not sure if I've seen any Amazon models, and none of the others, right? The meta model is purely theory, right? I've actually not even, maybe don't even have a particular account for that. So, the meta models are going to be very interesting as well. This one says code generation. So if you're doing code generation, looks like this is a model that you can go with. So let's say we go to Google and say foundation model for code generation. Let's see. How do I don't want to go to one of their, I don't want to Google and read or go. I want to go to Meta and their articles because it's going to talk about their models. I'm looking for a generic article that speaks to these text-to-code foundation models include Anthropic's Claude, Google's Cody, and Palm 2, and IBM's Granite Code. Okay, it doesn't specify best foundation models. Oops, code generation. This is from a year ago on Reddit. What is Hugging Face? I didn't even. AI community building the future. Wow, okay, I've never been to this site here. They offer, sure, they offer Chronos Bolt base. So let me go here. Let's go to the model catalog. Let's filter by Amazon and then look for Chronos. And it isn't here. There's a family of pre-trained time series forecasting models can be used for zero-shot forecasting. Blah, blah, blah. What in the world is zero-shot forecasting? It's a machine learning technique that allows models to make predictions on new data without prior training. This is useful in situations where there isn't enough data to train a model on, or it's not practical to train on every possible data set. Wow. So it's a family of pre-trained time series forecasting models. It says Amazon Chronos Bolt base, but I don't seem to be able to find it here. Okay, let's see by model name. I don't think so. Doesn't have that. So let's say we copy this. I search for AWS. Is a new addition to the Auto Luan time series, delivering accurate zero shot forecasting. Okay. How do I leverage this on Amazon? GLUON. Oh, Chronos models have been downloaded over 120 million times from Hugging Face and available for Amazon SageMaker customers through Auto Gluon Time Series and SageMaker Jumpstart. We looked at this briefly in one of our previous videos, SageMaker. So, just at the highest 50,000 foot level, we have to spend more time, obviously, on each of these products. So, SageMaker Jumpstart it's a machine learning hub with foundation models, built-in algorithms, and pre-built ML solutions that you can deploy. Machine learning hub that can help you accelerate your machine learning journey. So, again, it looks like even the starting point appears to be like several different places. You can start with, say, not Bedrock. Perhaps you can start on SageMaker and then go from there. So I guess, just as a slight digression here, I mentioned where coding used to, again, I keep saying used to, it's still an important skill, but clearly not anywhere close to what it was over the years, at least in the past. Right now, I think coding, you can use a lot of these tools to generate code, and we're looking at AI models that can generate code. So the bigger skill in the coming months and years is going to be putting together an architecture, leveraging the most sensible set of AI tools to solving your problem. Because you can sort of go overboard and over engineer, and sometimes we end up over engineering not because we intend to do that, nobody wants to do it. It's because it's sometimes out of ignorance. Because if you don't, who said this? What is a famous quote? It's complex to make things simple, or something along those lines. Or was it Albert Einstein? Um, the definition of genius is taking the complex and making it simple. Yeah, and I think there's another quote as well. So it's easy to make things complex, and when we don't know enough or much about a topic, it is most likely going to come across as it's very complex. It's like sitting in a class, and when you understand something, it does not mean that what by virtue of some you understanding it, I tend to think by virtue of me understanding it, I tend to believe that it shouldn't be too difficult, because how if it was too difficult, if it were too difficult, I may not have understood that in the first place. But maybe that's not always true. It's because the person teaching you, or the human, or the bot, or the article, whoever did it, however they did that, they did such a fine job that you are able to actually conceptualize and understand it and put that into practice. So they are pretty smart, and if not, they wouldn't have been able to facilitate that. So it is important to try and keep things simple, but it takes a lot of skill to do that. So going back to what I was trying to say earlier, the architecture, I have a feeling in the initial phases of people building native AI applications or applications that leverage AI, it is going to inadvertently become more complex because we are still learning. A lot of us are still learning and discovering. And so we're going to go with one, and we're going to start rolling. And imagine going with Hugging Face and let me complete the sentence and I'm curious about this. Uh, you start there, or you start on Cohere or Anthropic or AWS, and you make some progress. And if it works, you're going to just stick to it. I mean, you don't always have the time and luxury to compare assess like five different things, unless you're working for really large organizations that have a ton of money. If you're working for startups, you want to actually get things working as quickly as you can. So you're going to be invested in some of this really quickly by virtue of time and money, and it's going to be hard to wiggle out of it, and you probably won't feel the need to do it as well. And even if there was a need, you're going to try and make it work on the systems that you're already on because of the time and effort you've already spent as a person, as an individual, or as a team. So where you start is going to be very important. It's That's simply the case. How many times has someone connected to Oracle and used ODBC or GDBC and decided after being in production for several years they're now going to connect to Postgres, as much as Postgres can do the job just as well, sometimes if not better than Oracle? Probably never, because there's a cost of doing that migration and nobody ever does it. Hardly ever does it, I should say, right? I don't want to say nobody. I've not personally done it for anybody or known anyone who's actually done that. So you need to make the architecture, and the initial design is going to be absolutely crucial. And systems are going to be more complex than they need to be because we are all sort of living and learning and making mistakes and hopefully improving from there. So picking a model, I think, sort of I want to come to the end of this, come to a closure on this video here. I want to get deeper into Bedrock, but clearly it's going to take more time. Uh, Picking the model, maybe in the next video we can just look at some of these models, try and understand what it is, much like we've done for the AWS AI products. Sort of look at the foundation models and see what the differences are. Maybe look at some of the models offered on Amazon under the serverless or the Bedrock marketplace umbrella. What is this eye icon here? Includes models that you can use by first subscribing and then deploying to an endpoint. So clearly there is a separation there. You subscribe to it and then deploy, versus the serverless model maybe clearly doesn't facilitate that. So maybe we can try one of the Bedrock models first. And clearly the Bedrock model, the Anthropic models, are they here or do they not come under Bedrock? Oh, wait, maybe let's see. Filter a model by provider, Anthropic. Well, does that mean, so if I wanted Anthropic, I guess, yeah, they're only serverless. It's not a Bedrock model. How about Cohere? That's also serverless. Hugging Face is entirely the Bedrock marketplace. How about Meta? Is also serverless. Okay, that sort of gives an indication, right? I mean, there's a pattern that we are seeing there. So something to look at. I want to understand what the difference between the two collections here. So maybe we'll spend some time looking at the model, right? A couple of models, maybe even subscribe to them and see what happens. Understand at least a model, hopefully more. But before we call it wraps here, what is this? The platform where the machine learning community collaborates on models, datasets, and applications. We haven't talked data sets. Let's go to pricing for a second. It says zero GPU and dev mode for spaces, higher rate limits, $9 a month. Inference endpoints, deploy dedicated endpoints in seconds. Collaborate on machine learning, host unlimited public models and data sets. Search models. Let's see, we go to Anthropic. Let's search for Haiku. So this is, I don't understand the naming of these models. It seems pretty complex. So it's 3.5 Haiku 20241. I mean, I'm trying to see whether Claude. Wait, hang on. Oh, actually, I want to search for Haiku. ML Foundations. 58 model results for Haiku. Oh, there are a bunch more models here. This is like updated 11 days ago. So I guess you go to marketplace and find a model that it's closer to what you want, like an open source model is what it sounds like to me. Um, is Anthropic's fastest, most compact model for near instant responsiveness. What if I wanted something that came from Anthropic and not through like third party, like independent users, for instance? Um, Maybe this is a community that's publishing it, so you're not going to find one that comes directly from. Is that the case? Spaces, organizations, Meta, Hugging Face. So if I go to Meta, I'll come to the official Hugging Face organization for Llama, Llama Guard, Prompt Guard models from Meta. Pricing, deploy models on fully managed infrastructure. We're gonna have to take a look at this. This one again is a collection of models. Uh, you know, and maybe surely, like we mentioned, one of the things that drives which model you're going to pick and choose is the cost of the model. You know, what if a model is perfect? It's got this. We saw 8 trillion tokens and whatnot, but perhaps it's really expensive. The Nvidia model, I'm pretty sure it is. So maybe then you choose one that's not. Let's say we see tech or code generation. There isn't any text generation. And then there's a model here. I mean, is there a price associated? It says how many downloads. You can train this model using SageMaker, maybe. And then there's inference models. Wow. It's a powerful language model with 456 billion total params, of which 45.9 billion are activated per token. Community. So, okay, let's search when to use text generation models. To improve language translation services and by analyzing large volumes of translated text, AI models can generate accurate translations in real time, enhancing communication across languages. So this is like something for when you go to Netflix, you watch videos, you want to have it supported in multiple languages. I'm just looking up like a use case to see how to compare these text generation, because when you search, and I said text, was it tasks? Where did I pick? Yeah, text generation. Or let's say we pick text classification. There are so many of these models, and how do you compare and contrast these models to pick the one that makes the most sense? So if I go to this one here, SageMaker, Jumpstart. We saw the Inferentia and Trainium, the Amazon chips yesterday. Cloud Formation coming soon. Okay. As is evident, everywhere we click is seems to be a world of its own. We saw a bit of Cohere, so Anthropic, Amazon, Azure, Hugging Face, and this is never ending. So I think I've said this quite a bit recently. How this is an inflection point. No two ways about that. I might be stating the obvious, but I do know there are people who are still sometimes consider AI hype. I think it's that. I mean, we've gone, that ship has sailed, right? Where one can actually generally think it's hype. I don't think it's anywhere close to hype anymore. It's been not been for a while. So how do you build good software, and how do you approach software programming and problem solving in the world of software development and architecture with the current AI tools and technologies. If you do it anywhere close to how you've done it in the past without AI, and if that's how you're thinking about solving the problem today, forget code. Just when you start thinking about solving the problem, and I think I said this like a year ago, maybe even more than a year ago, on a podcast. It means we're doing it just flat out wrong. So before you write any new code, ask yourself if you should be doing it anywhere like you've done it in the past. The answer is most likely going to be no. So this is a different ocean. Before we call it wraps, I still want to at least end this podcast with some understanding of when would you go to Hugging Face, right? So let's see, Hugging. We're going to say AI, Hugging Face versus Vertex AI, Mistral AI. Let's see. Hugging Face is a platform for hosting models and datasets, while Vertex is a Google platform for building and deploying machine learning models. The two platforms are integrated to make generative AI more accessible. Hugging Face versus AWS Bedrock. Wow, are we? So we were starting to look at Bedrock, and this is a leading platform in the NLP space. It's well known for its Hugging Face for its Transformers library, which provides implementation of the state-of-the-art NLP models. Bedrock is a managed service by AWS to facilitate the development of generative AI applications. Now, maybe it's competition. We are excited to announce that popular open models from Hugging Face are now available on Bedrock in the new Bedrock Marketplace. So perhaps Hugging Face has a larger collection of models, and maybe these models you can deploy them here on Hugging Face directly, or perhaps use them on AWS. Is that's what it looks like? See, because AI is a broad field, and a lot of us would be leveraging and using it. Where we are in that chain is going to be quite different. It's one thing to leverage an existing foundation model after finding one at some point, the one that makes the most sense to solving a problem. But it's entirely another to creating a new, en- entirely another to create a new model altogether, or to train a data set that feeds into a model. These are all different types of problems. So a lot of these tools are probably going to be specializing in those types of areas. Maybe we'll end this with, okay, so there's data sets available. Let's look for tasks, filter tasks by text classification, question answering. So chat GPT prompts. So what is this? So we are under data sets, and I picked question answering, and I picked one of them, the chat GPT prompts. SQL console for awesome chat GPT prompts. Okay. Remember I mentioned distraction, just developer curiosity distraction. How do you, I guess you have to create the account to run this query basically. So I just want to look at a data set. Maybe we'll pick a different one. Table to text, multiple choice, text retrieval. Okay. American Stories data set is a collection of full article text extracted from historic used newspaper images. So they have a collection of data sets, and remember we talked about creating a data set, creating high quality data sets that you feed into models to train those models. Perhaps these data sets are available so you can train models, And there are these models available on Hugging Face as well. So maybe they have models, they have data sets, and what are spaces? Discover amazing AI apps made by the community. Wow, okay. Let's pick one. Oh, there's a lot of them. How do we filter? Browse these spaces. Discover zero GPU spaces, a new kind of community. So this is one particular space. If I go to, I don't know, let's see, go to page 100. Okay, that space is inactive. Let's go to the trending or the spaces of the week. This is experiencing heavy lag due to high traffic. Generate speech for one segment of text.
Aim for the moon. If you miss, you may hit a star.
So this is text to audio? Is that what this is? Yeah, generate speech for one segment of text. It surely says that. So so we can create a space. So we, again, we're gonna have to try this, right? I understand only by trying. I know what you. So the last few videos has been theory, right? We've not really done anything. It's just strange, but just to sort of skim the surface. I feel like we can keep skimming the surface and not improve the understanding unless we actually start doing something, whether it's right or wrong. So maybe the next one, we'll probably, the next couple of more videos, we'll just, humor ourselves by looking at this, still sticking to theory, talking about models. And, we said we'll look at a bunch of models and see what those are and try to pick the right ones. And then we can then start creating accounts on these different platforms and just have some fun, because all of this to me is needed before we figure, even for us at Snowpal, hey, do I go with start at Anthropic or Cohere or Hugging Face or AWS? Because if I want to start with Anthropic, let's say I go here, I'll continue with Google. I'm not using our company account yet because we're just going to be playing with things. So I don't want to muddy it up. I have to. Maybe I had an account here. Let's see. Use a different email. Let's check this one here. Nope, I doesn't look like I have an account. So what I'm going to do here, stop screen share for a second so I can validate my account. I got the verification code 268630. Okay, let me share my screen now, or the desktop, I should say. Okay, I'm just going to pick this. My team name is Snowpal. Continue. Invite members. I'm going to do that later. Oh, I need to. Wow. Is there no trial? Let's see. Maybe there's a free version. Using limited free plan, that's fine. How should Cloud write responses? Okay, Claude, your new powerful AI assistant built for work and trained to be safe, boost your productivity, blah, blah, blah. Extract text from. Okay, we're going to have to. I'm trying to think. look for Anthropic. How did we even get to Claude? Oh, okay, so that's their model, and then they have API and pricing and whatnot. Um, and we are, the Snowpile APIs are on AWS Marketplace, as you probably know. So definitely check out our APIs so you can go to market sooner. So we'll have more APIs that integrate with a lot of these other AI systems in the coming months. So Claude is there. I actually had logged in to Anthropic. Yeah, so let's see. Let me try to understand the terminologies here. Anthropic versus Claude. Claude is the model that's provided by Anthropic. It created Claude, a large language model and chatbot. Is the goal is to develop AI systems that are reliable, blah blah blah. Uh, So I think we need to understand this as well. Um, I want to get out of this page here. So 5 times more usage, $20 per month, early access to new features, blah blah blah. How do I get started? Now I uploaded, it's got sample text and it says write a concise, clear summary of the quarterly report, blah blah blah. Something you would have had a human do, right? All of this, but um, sure, but let's say generate Excel formulas, provide stakeholder perspective, generate. So it could be anything. It basically says you can sort of ask for what you want to be able to do. Um, Capture screenshot, upload files. I don't know. Let's say upload one of our thumbnails. What? How can you improve this thumbnail? Enhance the visual hierarchy and emphasis. Make the title more prominent. Blah blah blah. Highlighting it, and it says, okay. I guess it didn't do it, but it told me how to do it. So it says how to improve. It's giving me guidance to improving this. So again, this is again like a chat GPT-ish experience, but probably working off of a different guessing of a foundation model. Question is, how do you integrate this into, uh, where am I here? Let's go to the root page of docs.anthropic.com. Yeah, so this is the starting point, right, for user guides and whatnot. So this is something we will look at. So I think I mentioned earlier, you know you might have some familiarity with some of these tools or platforms or companies, and you might choose to go with them, which is perfectly all right, because a lot of these models could be comparable, to be honest, or the platforms. It's like going, picking React to building a user interface versus some other framework, right? There's no simple right or wrong answer. It just depends on community and adaptability. But let's just say, in terms of Google Trends, um, Anthropic versus, let's see, Cohere. Not past day, I want to say past 12 months. Oh, I guess I'll just search Anthropic and then compare it to Cohere. So what is in blue is Anthropic, and over the last 12 months, it says, what is this? It says numbers represent search interest relative to it, right? So clearly, Anthropic seems to be, at least looking at Google Trends here, more popular. Um, let's see. Let's add. I don't know what can Hugging Face maybe. Okay, let me maybe get rid of Cohere. So, and if I added Cohere and removed Anthropic. So Hugging Face seems like is more popular than Cohere. Let's edit this. Let's go with Anthropic, which clearly seems to be more popular. And then I don't know if you add, I'm trying to see AWS Bedrock. Yeah. A lot less popular. Um, Azure AI. That's pretty close there, right? We're just comparing Azure OpenAI. Probably I don't know which level. Maybe it's a superset of Bedrock. I don't know. Maybe there's similar, but that's pretty comparable. With Bedrock being maybe a slightly bit more popular, maybe. So that sort of gives us an idea, right? So Anthropic is certainly there. It's popular, and Hugging Face seems to be popular. So it seems to be a popular community. Hugging Face popularity. Over 10,000 organizations use Hugging Face and has a 1.2 million registered users. Hugging Face versus Bedrock. Or actually, you know what? We could have looked up a Vertex as well. Hugging Face versus Vertex AI. Vertex AI is 18.8%. The mind share of Hugging Face is 13%. Wow. So that's amazing. We didn't talk about Vertex actually. I completely forgot about mentioning that. We will look at Vertex AI as well. I want to see what the other products are in this list. So Vertex is the second, and Hugging Face is number 5. What other comparisons might there be? I think that's fine. I think we can sort of summarize it here, right? So we've looked at a number of different things. And again, the initial videos, my apologies, they are going to be sort of all over the place because we are exploring this. And it's not terribly difficult for me to focus on just one item, and maybe that's a good way to go. But at the same time, knowing all of these, at least at the highest level, will help our understanding. So we know at the end of these videos, I know if someone told you what mentioned Claude or Anthropic or Cohere or Bedrock or SageMaker, at least if you've not heard these terms or known these products, have seen their home pages before, you're like, you know what? Yeah, I kind of know, and you can start looking at it further. For instance, we discovered Hugging Face. I did not know before I got on this call that there was such a thing. But one other thing to mention is also what is this? Kaggle, right? So let me pull up Kaggle here, which is primarily for data sets from what I can tell. See, it's got models too. Well, and it's a place for learning primarily, from what I understand. It's so you got all of these data sets that you can check out or create, and then there are these models. Discover and use thousands of machine learning models. So let's say we go with I don't know, not all models. Anthropic. That's not there. Okay, what about Claude? I don't know what it's filtering by. Or maybe this uses, it's a family of open vision language models developed by Allen Institute. They are trained on Pixmo, dataset of 1 million, blah, blah, blah. How do we, you can download this. We mentioned PyTorch in the last one. I have no idea what transformers is. We looked at PyTorch. We looked at TensorFlow and MXNet. What is this one? This is transformers. What in the world is transformers? Oh, they're a type of neural network model used in NLP to learn complex patterns. But how do they compare it to PyTorch and PyTorch versus TensorFlow versus transformers, maybe? Yeah, maybe it's not this at the same level. It says why PyTorch and not TensorFlow for transformers. So maybe, yeah. Imagine you have a special machine that's really good at generating and working with words. We call this machine. We look at transformers. Probably, I have no idea what it is. It seems to have model variations, and then it says you can download this, uh, or you can create a new notebook. I looked at the data sets on Kaggle, and then they have, I guess, sample code possibly. Yep. So I don't know if it's a place for learning more than join over 22 million machine learners to share, test code, and stay up to date on all the techniques and technologies. Um, yeah, I think so. Maybe it's a learning platform, right? Not unlike the other one. Maybe you learn. Uh, Maybe they facilitate creation of these models for you to learn, discuss, and collaborate with other people who are interested in this. We saw Quen earlier. And you can just see the scope of this, right? Number of platforms, the scope, and everything. So the first phase is sort of, as we go along in the series, trying to get to the bottom of some aspects of this. We sort of looked at what a model is, what are the different types of models, the various platforms that these models can be actually leveraged and tested and developed on. So you know what? I think that's a lot of things that we've sort of touched here. We'll keep this going. So oh my god, I had no idea it was well over an hour. I try to keep this to an hour or well under that. Otherwise, it's just too much. But hopefully, uh, just a few things you learned here. I certainly did. Until next time, thank you.